Sawadee, may I pay my respect to Phra Ajahn Sujan or Suchon from Aberdeen. And today we have invited Phra Ajahn to come and speak to us about Buddhism in Scotland and monks' life and Buddhist engagement in Aberdeen or in Scotland. So we are very fortunate to have Phra Ajahn Sujan to be with us here today to talk to us. And may I first of all introduce a bit of Phra Ajahn Sujan, And Phra Ajahn Sujan originally he is from Nepal, but he was studying in Thailand for many years. He completes his MA and BA as Mahachulalongkorn Rajavidyalaya Buddhist University in Thailand. Then he came to the UK and he stayed in Aberdeen and he studied in Aberdeen University and finished his another MA there. So then Phra Ajahn Sujan has been staying at Aberdeen Vihara for how many years already, Ajahn?
It's been since 2012.
Since 2012, yes, since 2012, 8-9 years already.
9, yeah.
Yeah, Phra Ajahn Sujan's there. So today we will ask and we will have good opportunity to listen from Phra Ajahn about his life, a Buddhist monk's life over there, because as we seen always in online that Phra Ajahn is always do a lot of Buddhist activities, doing teaching online, teaching kids, visiting school like this at the Vihara. So today, may I first of all, Phra Ajahn, can you speak a little bit about yourself and the Vihara? Then we go to the topic that we are going to talk today. May you please tell a little bit of yourself, Phra Ajahn Sujan.
Thank you very much, Venerable Brahmahasena, for inviting me to be part of this educational Zoom meetings. Well, as Ajahn mentioned, I was born in Nepal and ordained as a novice in Nepal and went to Thailand for several years studying, became a monk over there and came to UK in 2005 and ever since stayed in different temples, different places and end up being here in Aberdeen. So some people say this Aberdeen is very cold, but I feel very warm in their hearts.
All right. So that you get a lot of warmth from people visiting you, Ajahn.
Yes, yeah.
That's great. Yes.
So,
yeah.
And after I established this center, I wanted to know how the Western people think about religion and how the society is turning towards the secularism. So then I joined the master's degree here, this so-called religion and society, simply to learn the Western society and Western religion. That made me comfortable speaking or even mingle with the modern society here in the West.
That's great, Phra Ajahn. Okay. Phra Ajahn, today, as I mentioned to you a bit, we're going to talk about your lives, your monk's life in Aberdeen, in Scotland, and Buddhist engagement in Aberdeen, that where you are, occupied or doing there.
Mm-hmm.
And then mainly we'll talk about a short story of Buddhism in Scotland, which is, you just told me that the Buddhism in Scotland is your thesis or your dissertation for your MA, isn't it, Phra Ajahn, at the...
Yes, that's true. When I was doing this religion and society in social science, and I thought that since I'm going to work here, I wanted to know what is the situation of this Buddhism here in Scotland, and as well as what is the perception that the Scottish people or in Scotland has. So that's why Buddhism in Scotland, in particularly Theravada Buddhism, I did a on that dissertation about the adaptation and introduction in this Theravada Buddhism in Scotland.
Right. So yeah, Prajan, we will come back to this later. Then we're going to talk about, yes, about Buddhism in Scotland, how many temples, how many tradition, and what about other tradition like this, we're going to talk later. And the second topic will be talking about your work, engagement and commitment in the community, like the Buddhist community at your temple there, your routine at the temple, Dhamma class, meditation class, like that, and maybe Buddhist service activities.
Yeah.
And the third topic is outreach. Will be, connection, your connection with other faith, interfaith, like this. Or teaching in different places, like in university, I believe you do that, and in school, like that. And the fourth item will be school visit and visiting school. Sometimes we have school visit our temple, isn't it, Prajan? And then we also are invited to join to teach in school sometime. And student of what level they come to the temple, and how many of them like this, and what is the most common questions, as we are here, me too, I'm here, some questions are very lovely, Ajahn. And do they, always come back to the temple, or do they like coming back to the temple? This, for example. The fifth item would be, how do you reach people during this COVID-19, Ajahn? It's difficult, as like we're doing here. And how do you tell people to cope with the depression, worry, anxiety, and what sort of Dhamma or the teaching of the Buddha do you recommend people to apply in their in their day-to-day life? This is something like that. And maybe the very last one, we're going to talk a bit about the question that that students always ask, like comment, question, Ajahn. As I also used to do here, Ajahn, they also come to our temple. I also have very similar to yours, I think. Then yes, we talk this, one by one. So may I first of all hear from you about Buddhism in Scotland. You can do a bit of, how Buddhism, starting in the UK, and then you can go back to that. Prajan, can you go on?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Since you texted me this morning about all details, what I should be prepared, I rushed and put it into one small into the PowerPoint. So let me share that PowerPoint, and we'll go through that PowerPoint.
Let me, you cannot share.
Yeah.
There you go.
And let me know if you see the PowerPoint.
Yep, that's perfect, Prajan. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, great.
So, okay, here I named it on after I got your message saying Buddhism in Scotland: Introduction and Establishment, a case study of Varapunnya Meditation Centre.
Good.
And I again, brought what the Buddha said about go forth because, for the compassion, out of compassion for the world and for the good benefit and happiness of good and gods and men's. And that's again, Buddha was saying, preach, proclaim, hoist, and work for the good of the others. This is from what the Buddha said. And this is, I just wanted to give you how the Buddhist missionary came to Aberdeen or in Scotland.
Yes.
And a second, Scotland being a part of the UK, we are again have to go through how Buddhism introduced to the UK, and that I have classified into 4 different main topics here. Buddhism came to UK and then a practical way, and then a mission and organization. From the academic way, it started from the Life of the Asia, the book written by Sir Alden, and then the Politics Society, establishment of the Politics Society in 1881, and then first Buddhist, first English man to become a Buddhist monk was in 1899 in Sri Lanka, who was the Douglas, Gordon Douglas, and then later as a mission Buddhism came to UK, was that Alan Bennett, who went to study in Sri Lanka for several years and then became a monk in Myanmar, and then later he came back to UK in 1908. And that's how Buddhism gradually established as an institution. After his arrival in 1920s, then Buddhist Society of the UK established. And I just had a glance of this Buddhist organizations in the UK, that in 1952, there were only 5 Buddhist centers in the UK, which increased by 371 by year 2003. So I presume this number already has grown up a lot, probably now over 400 Buddhist organizations in the UK.
Oh, great.
And in terms of the Buddhists, whole in the UK, it's 0.3%. And Buddhism in the UK, in the West, how it came. So the Mackenzie's writes that in his book writes that probably it came during the time of the Asoka. However, there is no concrete evidence to show that Buddhism came during that time. But however, there are other evidence shows on and off Buddhism introduced in different forms in the UK. But it's become more clear in 19th century and it became more popular in 20th century. Now, Buddhism became really popular after The Light of Asia was published, was written by Sir Edwin Arnold in 1979, and it's become more stabilized or established as an institution after 1881.
Okay.
So in terms of the practical, from academia to practical way, Buddhism took place in the UK through the Gordon Douglas, who became the first British person to become a monk in Theravada Buddhism, and as become a Bhikkhu Asoka, and Alan Bennett, as I already said. So this is the Scotland, and the map is Scotland, and there is this is, as I said, it's a part of the United Kingdom. A largest city of Scotland is Glasgow, and the capital city is Edinburgh. Is Nicola Sturgeon, and it was united with the United Kingdom in 1707, but now Scotland has got devolved its own parliament since 1998. The population in Scotland has 550 million, and in particular in Aberdeen, just over 200,000. So these are other signs. You can see the symbols of Scotland.
Yeah.
And so Buddhism in Scotland, so Roden Gaudier, he writes that it was started in 1912 in a Theosophical Society in Edinburgh. I started to read the Buddhist doctrines as a part of their meetings. And then later, after that year, Light of Asia been introduced, and they started studying the Light of Asia. So that, in a way, is the starting of Buddhism in Scotland. Okay? So that's 1912. And then with that, the census or the population, Buddhist population, we can see that in Scotland by 2005, there were 0.13, and currently, but they're mostly brought up as a Buddhist, only 46%, and other religions are basically there are more. And what interests me is the 14.2% who claim themselves as no religion. Right? No religion. So that's my point. It's very interesting point here.
No religion, so non-religion. Yes.
Yeah, non-religion. Yeah, and so this is again a current religion and a religious upbringing in Scotland. Buddhists are current religious only 0.13. And basically now, again, I believe it's been
A bit higher than Hindu, Ajahn.
Yes, higher than Hindu, yeah. And you will be surprised to see that over 50% are white.
Wow. Oh, okay.
And this is the invitation for me in 2012. And I was invited to give as a Buddhist representative in there. And I mentioned that it says the Buddhism has been, over 2,500 years since the Buddha passed away. And his compassion of peace and message of peace, compassion, loving kindness has spread around the world. It was introduced to Scotland almost a century ago. So that was because 1912, and then that was 2012. So it's exactly the century ago. I mentioned that, and then I mentioned that today Buddhism is not here in Aberdeen. So I'm just narrowing down here to the Aberdeen, saying that it's not to convert anyone, but to convert from the misery to compassion, some sort of like that. And that was my first approach. And in terms of institutionalization of this Buddhism, as I mentioned, Buddhism was introduced as a discourse in 1912 to 1914, and then Buddhist Society opened its branch in 1952 in Edinburgh as a form of a body to organize the Vesak celebration, and which was very well established and a well-organized Vesak celebration at that time. And later, the establishment of Johnson House, 1960s, and it was established by basically, it's a Canadian monk, his name was Ananda Bodhi. But sadly, he was unable to continue that Johnson House as a Theravadin institute. So he had to sell it later, and then Samiling took over. So that's why now Samiling become a really big organization in Scotland. It's in the borders, and they have a lot of branches and a lot of followers too. And they organize and offer a lot of Buddhist studies and practices around in Scotland. So this is a Samiling. It's a border. So it's very big. Been a couple of times, and I have been there for the retreats, and as well as while I was there for the retreat, I managed to sort out the library books on the Theravada books. And then whenever they have new books arrival from the Theravada perspectives, normally the librarian emails me to find out is it which section it should go, like that. So this is a Samiling. So have a connection with the librarian here. And so in 2015, when I did my dissertation, I looked at the buddhanet.net, how many Buddhist organizations registered in Scotland. And that time there was only 45 Buddhist organizations. And within that, 6 groups are classified as a Theravada Buddhism. And today, this morning, I checked it and found there are 47. So 2 Buddhist organizations has been registered in BuddhaNet so far after this 5 years time. But I believe this should be more than that, because I have seen New Kadampa Center established in Aberdeen, Dhammakaya Center established in Helensburgh, and then in Glasgow, another Buddhist center established. So like that. But anyway, this Buddhist centers, again, we can categorize into Chinese, Mahayana, Tibetan, Theravada, Zen, and as well as non-traditional. Also, the New Kadampa tradition there too.
Right.
So, and then these Theravada monasteries, I classify or divide into 2, like ethnic-based centers and non-ethnic-based center. And here, ethnic-based center, basically, I mean that it's heavily or strongly related to the origin of country, like Thailand or Sri Lanka. and whereas non-ethnic based center are not strongly related to the origin of their country.
That's great.
So this is the first Theravada Buddhist center in Glasgow, established by Venerable Revata in 2001. And this, I have a very good relationship with this center, and I also help running the Dhamma classes in this center too. Like over this 2 months time during the during the Vesak celebration, I was also helping giving a talks and a meditation. And then the last month of Poson, I was also leading the chanting and guided meditation and giving the talks on the life of the Buddha and like that. So normally, and again, I do visit the center quite often just to keep my relationship strong. So we work together, and Venerable Revata also helping as well.
It seems they have more monks. They have quite a few monks, Venerable, there at Sri Lanka Center.
These two pictures are old picture. It's opening picture. At the moment, he has got monks, only 2.
Okay.
And this is a Thai temple. Thai temples in Scotland. There are 3 Thai. That this is the ethnic-based Theravadan centers. There are 3 Thai temples here. One is in Dhammapadipa Temple, which was established in 2003 as a branch of a Buddhapadipa temple in London.
Yeah.
And then later in 2011, Wat Thai Buddharam Temple was established in Aberdeen with the help of Dhammapadipa Temple in Edinburgh. And later, later in 2008, I'm not sure whether the 2018 or 2017, the Dhammakaya Meditation Centre established, but the official inauguration of the Dhammakaya Meditation Centre or Dhammakaya Centre in Helensburgh took place in 2018, summer 2018. And I have visited so many times, and went to offer and stay overnight this Helensburgh Dhammakaya Meditation Center quite often. And I took my devotees and go and have a look and join with the Dhammakaya from before the inauguration when they bought this place.
And
so these are
maybe it's maybe a big place, isn't it, Ajahn? Mostly Dhammakaya, they have quite beautiful and quite a huge big place.
Yeah, in Helensburgh they bought a big church and converted it into the monastery and a meditation center. It's really huge. And they have worked so hard, converting it into the kind of the hall, 2 halls, and they have worked really, really hard. I really admire the monks and lay followers, those who are living at the center. Yeah, and it's beautifully decorated now.
Yeah.
And last year, last year visit. No, early January, my visit. I went there again. After all the renovation done, it's beautiful.
Beautiful. The decorate is like gorgeous.
Yeah,
so
simple but elegant.
Yes.
And this is a Buddhist center, and I would call it a non-ethnic based center because it accommodates all Buddhists from around the world. Although we do have a link with Thailand, but again, the first one is Millennium Hermitage in Persia. It was established by Ajahn Chandasuri, and who is a Scottish, probably the first nun while the Ajahn Chah arrived in UK.
Right.
And now in 2012, she bought this 11 acres of woodlands in a Persia remote village and established it as a nunnery hermitage. And she normally stays there nowadays, although she travels to give her talks and run the retreats around in Edinburgh, Glasgow, and even going to Amaravati. But this is also kind of a branch from the Amaravati established there. Beautiful, beautiful.
Beautiful.
And obviously this Varapunnya Meditation Centre, again, this we established this in 2012, but we got the registration from like a charitable organization in 2013 as the Varapunnya Meditation Centre, a Buddhist Society and Meditation Centre. Again, in terms of the nunnery, the hermitage, I along as well as other devotees do visit and attend the ceremonies, and we also offer things to the hermitage too.
Yeah.
So some of these pictures from our center. This is our small cottage with and 5 acres land. We have planted trees in the 5 acres land.
Wow.
And every time when we have this Sunday school or the children's retreat, we normally go for a walk.
Right.
And I do have this novice ordination every year. This year we haven't done it because of the coronavirus. Actually, we have 2 candidates living at the center who is helping at the center, but we cannot do the ordination. In the meantime, every year I take friends and devotees for a walk, and a mountain walk about a week. And this is one of the pictures from 2018.
You do mountain climbing, mountain hiking, isn't it? Do you do that?
Kind of a hiking, but it's more of like a normal walk and stay together and learn together for 1 week.
Stay in the forest for 1 week, Ajahn, in the mountain.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And in terms of the activities at the center, we normally have 6 o'clock chanting and meditation, and 11:30 traditional food offering, and 7 o'clock we have evening chanting and meditation. So this is a daily routine that we have here at the center. And in terms of the weekly, before the coronavirus, we normally have Tuesdays and Wednesdays evenings, 7 to 9 o'clock meditation open to the public, and people normally come from various, and this is like open sessions. Sometimes you will get 2 people, or other time get 10 people. It's based on the weather and people's intention. And we have a Saturday meditation in the morning at 9 to 11 o'clock, which is again there won't be any much talking, just come and sit and walk meditation. And a Sunday group meditation at 10 to 11 o'clock. And we do have a study of a scripture and a reflection and sort of thing. And there are some pictures I just wanted to show you, that this is a Dharma school at the center, and we have volunteers helping. And these children mostly are from Sri Lankan background.
Mm.
And we also go for alms every Tuesdays and Wednesday in a city, here in a village as well as in the city. But in the village we have stopped for a year now, but in the city we continue go alms. Whoever comes to visit the center here, I normally take them with me to go for alms as well, just to give them in a different flavor of going alms in the Western cities. And sometimes you will get a good conversation with the visitors.
With the visitors, yes. Ajahn, do you need to do appointment with a devotee to do this kind of like bindabata or go for alms in the city?
No, Bante, we do every day. So whoever want to give, so we do every Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So whoever wants to give, then they can wait in that route that we have allocated. So that's how we organized it.
So it's not a make-up like event, then it just you
No.
do this regularly.
Yeah, it's been regularly every Tuesdays and Wednesday we do that. It's been a routine now, and every people around that area knows about it. So
it might be surprise for the yeah, visitors and people walking around.
Well, yes, it was, and it did as well. In the meantime, whenever I go to talk and give a talks and lead the meditations in different organizations, I normally tell them that you might bump into me in the morning while I was going for alms, and if you see me, do not ignore me, like that.
Yes.
So with that, it made them more comfortable, and we also feel more comfortable. And in the past, when in 2013, 14, I even during the summertime, when the sunshine and not much cold, I wear a robe and just walk in the cities, just to let them know our existence.
Yes.
And with that, many people feel comfortable. And sometimes I sit with the homeless people and talk with them. And with that, they in Aberdeen, pretty much people know amongst existence now.
Yes. Yes. And your way of dress as well, isn't it, Ajahn?
Yeah. And this is one of the events this is this Vesak celebration in our center we organized. And this is how we separate and lay down our events normally. And this again event, we hire the hall, so we organize in the hall. And this was last year's Katina ceremony, and this is again at the same place, the same hall that we hired. And so every year we hire this Katina ceremony, this hall for the Katina ceremony and Vesak celebration.
Right.
And this is again, this is a few days ago as a Asala Puja event. So at the center also every important days during the lunchtime, we go for alms and let the devotees stand outside of the center, and then monks will go and collect the food from them. So this was just a Asala Puja day. In terms of the outreach, I have here categorized into the 5 topics. One is monthly mindfulness Mondays. But again, remember that this is before the coronavirus, okay? This is before the coronavirus programs. So this monthly mindfulness Mondays, that again, in partnership with the NHS and Aberdeen City and Health Partnership, and Grampian, we've been offering it every month since 2016, and around 40 to 50 people join every month. And they have to register with the NHS, and most of them are referred by doctors, psychiatrists, and counselors. So they come, and everyone are anonymous. Nobody knows apart from the NHS, and some can drop by as well. If they got the email from NHS. And this program, we don't have to promote, NHS promotes it, and NHS provides the space. All what we do is to go and teach.
Okay.
And the second, from this monthly mindfulness Mondays, we developed this 6 weeks learning mindfulness meditation course. And again, we hire our own space in the city, giving this opportunity for those who have learned and wanted to learn more. And it's been a 6 weeks course. Now we have completed 5 groups of them. After we have done this 6 weeks mindfulness courses, then we have also hired the 1 month support group meditation. Those who have done the courses, they can come and practice in that hall as well. So this 6-week course and this meditation support group, now I don't have to go and teach them. I have David, who was training under me for a couple of years now. He is qualified to teach, and he's teaching there, and I will be there just helping and giving the first day, middle, and end. I will be there to support, and also after the end of the 6 week, they will come to the center for the last 3 hours meditation and discussion. And then, as being a chaplain at the Aberdeen University, we have started this weekly meditation dropping in as well. And this is also, I don't have to go and teach every week. One of my students, Matthew, he teaches there on behalf of me there. And then occasionally, once a month, I go and just for the question and answers. Apart from these regular courses, there are short courses in Aberdeen City, Wooden Hospital, and other private organizations. And some of the private organizations, when they invite me, then normally now I refer it to my student or my student who had practiced. So it's David. He normally, David or Lena, they go and give a mindfulness meditation on behalf of the center. Right. So some of the pictures here, and this picture, this was the first time ever that the monks got a special visit to the city council chamber, and the Lord Provost himself welcomed and gave the briefings of the Aberdeen city and how the Aberdeen city works. So this was the very first time. I was very pleased to organize this one. And this one again, Alvine School, where I visited a lot, and I was invited to give talks on Buddhism a lot. And all the questions that one of the events that I was invited, and they asked me several questions, around 30 questions, and I compiled that questions into a book. Your questions and my answers. So this book, and later I got the help from Taiwan and got published. Yeah. Okay. And after the publication, this book we had a official launch in the Alvine School, and also this book been distributed around over 60 or 70 schools around in Northeast Scotland as a handbook for them to study the Buddhist concept. So this is the book.
This is your book, isn't it, Venerable?
It is, yeah. I compiled from the questions that students asked me.
That's wonderful. I really want to have one.
I will send it to you. I will send it to you.
Yes.
So this book, that's why this book's been distributed to around 60 to 70 schools in Scotland as a book, a reference book. And from there, I have also compiled another small books on morality that student asked. Based on the students' questions, I have compiled that book as well, but I haven't published it yet because I just wanted to refresh it more into the details. So that's why it's not published yet.
Good.
And this school, I normally go and give talks and on a Buddhism, and also give a meditation for the staffs as well.
Okay.
And this is again the Port Layton Academy, the top picture. I go every year as an interfaith part, and giving Buddhist views on different topics related to the modern world. And I also became a part of creating this this CD, the interfaith CD in the school, and which was also presented in Anna Frank's event in Aberdeen every year. And we have a Scots visits at the center down, and then the next one, the next picture is Alvine School for the secondary schools. Right. Sorry for this is little mess. I haven't organized this one. So this is the pictures. I haven't organized the pictures. This is basically annual Interfaith Mindful Day because I am very close to the Aberdeen Interfaith for a long time. Wow, and okay. It's been since I am very involved in interfaith and I wanted to do something related to Buddhism and meditation, so I introduced this annual interfaith mindful day at the center. So we will invite all the different faiths to come to the center and to do the different activities. And this is one of the activities from last year. And this year we had, so this is from last year. We had tree planting, walking meditation, and there's a music. So this the whole day program.
Right.
I've been doing it every year, so it's been a third year now. And this year we did in a Zoom. This year's topic was sleep and relax.
Venerable, this is the whole picture, the whole events and activities were in your compound, in your premise, in your land, isn't it, Venerable, there?
Yes, this whole picture is in our center's compound, inside the center's compound. And this is the Mindful Mondays that I was talking about, and it was on the news for the NHS Grampian.
You were on the news.
Yeah, on the front page, and I was interviewed, and I had an audience with the Sports and Health Minister of Scotland as well, explaining about what are the activities that we had and what we are offering to the Aberdeen. And these are other, you can see the pictures, how we've been working, and this has been really, really good from the community in terms of teaching the Mindfulness Mondays. And this is 6 weeks learning mindfulness meditation at the Credo, which again also funded now by the NHS Grampian. This is also, all the courses are free of charge. All what we do is go and teach. So this is also the last course, the Credo. And this was a well-being event in Robert Gordon University. I taught like 2 sessions of a meditation for 2 groups of people there. And there were about altogether around over 40 people joined this event. And this was at the Aberdeen University and last year. And this is the mindful libraries, and that I used to go and teach in the libraries. And later on, I also had a chance to be part of the study, so-called the mindful libraries. And on the basis of that, I also have compiled a book called Hong Han Sati. So this book I compiled, and I wrote it in Thai. I wrote it in Thai and published last year on the basis of that experience of teaching meditation in mindful libraries. It was published 3,000 copies in Thailand and distributed in Thailand. And this is weekly meditation at the Aberdeen Chaplaincy Centre that I was talking, and where again I don't have to go and teach every week. Matthew, he takes control and he teaches there, and I will be there to question and answer. And this is a health village. This health village, again, regular teaching there every month. And they are a city council event. City council, again, I teach 2 sets of people. So each section will be half an hour teaching in a city council. And now again, there are other, in a few months, I think next month, we are going to start from the Zoom for that rather than going there.
Okay.
In terms of the humanitarian support, ever since we established the center, we're giving the food to the homeless people. So in the past, we cook ourselves, and then about 50 cooked food and 50 uncooked food. We take it to the Instant Neighbor Charity Center, and we offer this for the homeless. And this is in combination, a collaboration with the Interfaith Aberdeen and St. Mary Cathedral Catholic Church every year. I go and help to feed the homeless people.
Okay.
And this picture from last year, Christmas time, Christmas dinner for the homeless people.
Great.
And this is one of the events organized by the mother language, international mother language in the council. So I went to teach there, and there was a 50+ event organized by city council in the past, and then each section, each hours that when I was teaching, there were around over 100 participants for the meditation, and that meditation I call mindfulness on the move. And here, these items, this man is he wanted to have some items for the library and the museum, and he come to visit me and asks for the items to display in the museum. So I gave these robe book, singing bowl Buddha, and the ball, and also palm leaf as items to be displayed in the Aberdeen museum. And now this is stored with my voice and explanation of these things, what are they. So whenever there are religious events, then they will bring that and display and run the introduction to this. And this is another event that I joined with the Lord Provost, and this is a Tase Limpo dance, came from Tibet, displaying the dance, Tibetan dance. And then I was also there, invited as a special guest along with the Lord Provost of Aberdeen, and was attending that event. And here, this man from Aberdeen, and he also came to center and meditation and study Buddhism. And later, he wanted to test a Buddhist life, become a monk. So, and after I trained him, he went to Thailand to become a monk for 10 days. His name is Colin, and now he come back. He has come back to Aberdeen, and is still following Buddhist practices. And this is extra, a little bit of a
Right.
outdoor event. And these are some of the literature that we have published so far, just to give public to know what is Buddhism and the meditation, in particularly meditation. So this is again one of the Chinese devotees translated the morning chantings. Whenever she comes with her family, then she would do her chanting with these translations.
Okay.
And during this COVID time, I offer daily reflection talk at 6:30, and Pali chanting 7 o'clock, guided meditation 7:30. And teaching Buddhism for the kids every Saturday at 2 to 4 p.m. and a regular meeting with the Scotland Interfaith Group. In terms of helping COVID-19, and I have distributed around 500 face masks, and also visiting the elderly people in their house and giving food, and also checking their lifestyles. And also, I normally speak and talking on the phone a lot during this COVID-19, with different people dealing with their children problem, dealing with their stress problem, and so. And most of the talks that I normally give every night, again based on that, and also the questions, I got it from the listeners. And that's how I am dealing with. And even in our center during this time, we are working with the barn to convert it into like a multi activity center, so we can use it after the COVID-19 as a place to get the people, and with a mindful of social distance, they can use that hall. So that's going on at the moment. And we have a kitchen garden where general public or our members come and work there, plant their vegetables and kind of thing. So this is what's in there. So, and as you have put me other questions here as well. So why Buddhists pay respect to the icon? We can go with later. Do you have,
Yes.
so I think I will conclude here
Yes,
with
yes,
the COVID-19.
yes.
Buddhism in Scotland, and as well as what the center is doing and what my involvement in this work. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Ajahn. Thank you. You can put it down, the slide. Then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Ajahn. Yeah, Ajahn Sujan. We have, now Venerable Dr. Panyapoka from Mahidol University in Thailand. Then actually he is like moderator, co-moderator with me every day. Today he was a bit busy before that, and he came in now. Yes. Then yes, we were talking about Venerable was talking about the Buddhism in Scotland. Venerable is from Varapunnya Buddhist Meditation Centre in Scotland. He's original from Nepal. Then yes, Venerable, what you just talk or given your presentation to us is very interesting. Yeah, very interesting, and I've learned a lot from this. And it's a lot of activities you do, and a lot of activities you've been, working there in Scotland. Yeah, Venerable, one of the most interesting thing that I would like you to talk a bit about is that about the like the student visit at your temple. This I think is more interesting, and you are always teaching and doing regularly with the children or schools there. So if sometime they ask you the question, because they have many kinds of questions, we were asked, like we said earlier there, Venerable, why Buddhists pay respects to icons or to Buddha statues, which is, actually in the way of their will is that, it's not quite right, to just bow or pay to the things or to the statue like that. So if they ask you like that, Venerable, what you give them, the answer, what kind of answer, how do you satisfy them with the answer, Venerable?
Thank you for the question. Well, basically in our center every year two schools visit, two school visits as a regular visitors from International Aberdeen School and another primary school, and occasionally we have a Scouts visits. Whereas I normally visit Alban School quite regularly, and also Port Layton Academy and other primary and secondary schools. Okay. And in terms of the questions that I receive, it's based on if the primary schools, they will ask you, why do you have to wear robes?
Yes.
And can a female become a monk? Or why?
Yes.
Yeah, and why do we have to shave your hairs? Those are the normal questions from the primary school children got. And in terms of the secondary school, they are more like vegetarian. Are you vegetarian? What about the Buddhism, whether it was imposed or forced on the children, or is Buddhism is what is it? Has God or not? And these are in the secondary school level questions. I got it. And in terms of the question that you have just mentioned, why do we pay respect to the Buddha or Buddha as an idol or not? And this question, whenever they ask me, I normally give them a simile that we pay respect to the father and mother because they have given us the this food and look after us and take care of us. And with that, as a Buddha, one who has given us this path to know the reality, to know the truth. So we pay respect to him as a teacher rather than the God, and we pay respect to him to show our gratitude that how much he has done. Out of compassion, he has shown the path to find the real happiness. So that is my approach to them.
That is very interesting. As they have many different kinds of questions. And sometimes they also come with a big group. How big group? I mean, how many students and staff they come to your temple? Or you accommodate them? Yes.
Yeah, because our living room or this shrine room is small. I normally allow them to have around 20, or maximum is 30 pupils, and so the Aberdeen International School normally comes with like a 60 or 70. Then I had to divide into two groups, so they're coming into two groups.
Right.
Two groups, and then I give the same teachings to both as much as possible. I try to introduce the same topics so they can relate to it. And in terms of the regular meditation classes before the COVID-19, Aberdeen University students also regularly visits for the meditation, like 4 or 5 people come for meditation and discussions. And from that discussion and regular meditation, two of Aberdeen University students last 2018, so last year they become a monk as well. So a novice monk at the center and stayed for about 21. One stayed 23 weeks, and then another one stayed about 30 days. And one of them also did his dissertation on the basis of his experience of being a monk, being a novice monk, and training at the center, like that.
Venerable, when they come, sometimes they are observing in a shrine room. They have like kind of questions. They see sometimes we offer the Buddha with flowers, with flutes, or with other puja. So how do you answer them? How do you give them the answer about this one?
I think in terms of offering the candles and flowers and incense, this is like a basic, mostly secondary school question they normally ask when they see it.
Yeah.
And my response is always that it starts from like our Buddhist way of an explanation of the 3 incenses are the qualities of the Buddha that sorry the 3 qualities of the Buddha that doesn't need anything to make it smell, and it doesn't classify or divide one to another. Everyone in the room or everywhere, they can feel this sense of the scent of the candle, the incenses, whereas the 2 candles normally is signifying the light to see through in the darkness, as the teachings of the Buddha also divide into the ultimate and the conventional that leads us towards the enlightenment, which is the ultimate goal in Buddhism. And the flower, in terms of the flower, again, I normally bring them together as explaining that look at you all come from different places, but when we are coming together, beautiful. So the flower too, as a flower, we offer it in a form of unity, that we're coming from different backgrounds, But once we come into the Buddhism, we make the society harmony in the practice. And in the meantime, it also teaches us to know that everything must go. A change is always there. So this is my approach towards to the secondary school students when they see these three main items in front of the Buddha. But in terms of the offering of food, I think this is more of a grown-up question, or more of a philosophical question. Those who know Buddhism normally wants to ask about it and wants to debate about it, that Buddha didn't, or Buddha already attained the nirvana, he won't be able to come and eat it, and we are not offering to the devas, and Buddha wasn't the deva, and why do we have to offer? It's something like a confrontation form of a question is here. So, and my approach always is that we have a different level of understanding. Someone has got the intellectual understanding, and someone need more physical, like empirical, and when we can touchable items to feel the connectedness with with the religion or with the spirituality. So that's why the form of offering food is basically offering in from our heart to connect with the Buddha, not as one who is coming to eat it, but as showing our devotion and our confidence in the teachings. And sometimes again, people will say, well, Buddha didn't encourage it, did it? Like that. Then my response was, Buddha never said not to do it. Buddha simply, Buddha said there are two ways of worship: worshipping by offering the items, objects, and worshipping by practicing. So it's up to individual which way one wants to go with it. So, but the offering is like a ritual to connect with the teachings and also connect with the Buddha. So that's why this is how I approach in this way.
Yeah. Yes, as I observe, Venerable, when they come, different group, they have like different, the different wisdom, let's say, different understanding, as the level of them, and maybe, from government school or from private school, they have a bit different sometimes. Yeah, quite, they have more questions from private school. And more like scientific and more philosophy and higher questions sometimes. Yes, and I observe for this one as well. And
so that's why this book been really helpful for all the schools. That's why it's been distributed, because based on their questions. So
I will want one day with that one.
I will send it to you,
please. Yes. One of student here, he asked just last week, I just give online online question answer with the Morton School here, and quite philosophy one as well. But this one also, this question is very interesting. Do you think it's possible to become enlightened without being Buddhism, without being Buddhist? So this is, is quite, yes. So they think sometimes as a monk, as they ask me how long I've been a monk, then I told them since I was small and until now, more than 30 years. Oh, are you enlightened yet? Are you enlightened? Yes, that is a kind of question. So that's question also, Venerable. It is possible for everyone to become like enlightened one. And how do we do that? That is the question sometimes.
I think I got this question as well a few years ago when I was in secondary school giving a talk about the dukkha, and one of the questions was this too, and my response was that being a Buddhist doesn't mean that you will be enlightened.
Yes,
right. And being a non-Buddhist again doesn't mean that you cannot be enlightened too. And as long as, even the Buddha said, as long as one who is practicing in line with the Eightfold Noble Path, then they don't have to call themselves a Buddhist. but they can be enlightened if they are genuinely practicing, with their confidence, faith and confidence. Certainly there is a possibility of becoming enlightened. And there are, hundreds of thousands of people are
Yeah.
Buddhists, but how much they practice Buddhism, they are mostly are simply the traditional Buddhists. Even some, though they call them Buddhists, even they do not remember 5 precepts.
No. Yes.
Forget about the Eightfold Noble Path, Four Noble Truth, and meditation. But whereas there are so many people, those who do not call themselves Buddhist, they do remember lots of chunks of Buddha's teachings. And they are practicing more serious on a meditation too. And they have been to the retreats, meditation retreats, studied dhammas, and in the West, in particularly, we have so many Buddhist scholars. They do not call themselves Buddhists,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
they
Yeah.
are Buddhist scholars, and we
Yeah.
have to rely on their work.
Yes.
So even at the center here, in our center, the classes that I run, meditation class or Buddhist studies classes, most of them come to join. They do not call themselves Buddhist. So when they leave, God bless you, Ajahn, like that. So,
Yeah.
so that's why it's Buddhism is not belongs to the Buddhists. It's belong to someone who is practice, and if someone is practicing in accordance with it, then definitely there is a possibility of being enlightened.
Yeah. Yeah. And Ajahn, just very interesting one as of just very recently, and relate to this current situation and the situation that occurred in the USA. So this one is that how are you as a community responding to the current situations such as the lockdown and George Floyd protests? This one is wonderful. Yeah, George Floyd is very famous nowadays.
Challenge question.
I think one of the ladies, in relation to this Black Lives Matter, wrote an article saying that Buddha would respond differently and Buddha will change his teachings to respond this racism, like that. But anyway, so when my response always been that if you are truly Buddhists, or if you are practicing Buddhism, first thing first you will see a humanity. We all human beings, rather than having any differentiation between like nationalities, race, ethnic groups or religious group. We forget about all. Buddha didn't say that Buddhism is belongs to only Buddhist, or Buddha didn't say that it belongs to Nepalese people or Indian people or Burmese people or Thai people or Sri Lankan people. Buddha didn't classify in this way like other faiths and religion does. So my response purely is, if we are truly believing in humanity, then there won't be any problem with the race. But again, we cannot deny that each and every human beings are different, and based on that differences, we all have this driving to the greediness, and to get or to fulfill this greed, people will do every sort of things, even the harming other beings. And that's again basically against with the teachings of the Buddha in the first precepts, right? So in relation to this current issue, again, it's very sensitive, but again, we shouldn't be too much onto this that this race or that race is good. But in fact, it's not just the Black Lives Matter. It should be all lives matter, and everyone should be respecting one another and their existence and practicing together as a humanity. And once we have come across together as all humans, then only then we are respecting the rules and regulation of in particular place of the city or the country, and then religion is our choice. We are practicing religion in our own accord of our own spiritual gain and spiritual comfort, but we shouldn't be taking this religion as the front page before the nation or the culture, community, and the humanity. And that's how we can see how it's related. The very moment when we put the religion at front, we create differences between one another and a religion and another religion, and we build up the conflict. And the same with the if we do not take the religion at the front, but we take it as a humanity, then we all see as a one people. We all have the same blood and the same nature like that. And with this, the race will just go away.
Yeah.
But whenever there is, then we do have to raise word and raise voice to eliminate. And once it's done, then again there must be different ways to do that, rather than kind of massive destructive demonstrations. In particular, this lockdown time, it's not just about individuals' life that we should be thinking of, but as a whole community. Each and everyone's action does matter, that affects to oneself and then to the others. So that's why if we take the Buddha's teachings, then we need to be very mindful of any actions that we take, whether that is beneficial for us or not, or whether beneficial for only to the others, or is it beneficial for both parties. And once we have understood clearly that this is beneficial for both parties, then we are again acting it with more kindness and compassion, rather than our own emotion and greediness. If we are reacting with our own emotion and greed, then there is no difference than someone who had done in the past to raise these differences and dominations, so-called. Yeah.
Yeah. It is very useful, Ajahn. And Ajahn, this item also very interesting. I just got, is about science. How do Buddhists tend to feel about attempts to link Buddhist practice and ideas with science? For example, studying brain activity during meditation. Do they tend to see science and their religion as complementary, or as fields of inquiry which should remain separate? This is about more science, Ajahn. It's about the brain and heart and our mind, how it's come to be when we do meditation. Because as science prove or test, they believe that when we do meditation now, as our brain will change. How do you respond to this question, Ajahn?
Yes, because I have been in this meditation section for some times, and I do come across with these things. And I do realize that there has been a lot of research going on, like a neuroscience, plasticity,
Yes.
brain surgery, and these things, even the heart surgeries that related to the meditation and mindfulness in particular. When we look at the Buddha's teachings, it is not just for the current life's comfort. Buddhist meditation is not about the current life comfort alone, right? Whereas the current science technology that we are using to find how mindfulness meditation is good is, it's empirical and it's very good for this life, right? To get comfort and easy or get away from this anxiety and stress. And these are scientific research proven that if you are doing certain amount of meditation regularly, then it will help you, right? It will help you to live happy life.
Yeah.
But these all the scientific findings are simply supporting for this life, right? But the practice of a meditation, what Buddha taught, is not just for this life. It's for the ultimate, the liberation, right? So Buddha is not talking about the physical benefit, but he was more onto the mental benefit.
Yeah.
And all the scientific research that have been done and has been doing, and the outcome has come, it's simply supporting to keep our healthy body, right, in this life, and also how to keep our mind into the positive, yeah, and then how to get more out of this life to be more happy and enjoy. But whereas Buddhist meditation is, this is just a bypass, this is just the outcome, like a credit that we get it from, but it's not the ultimate goal of a Buddha's practice. Ultimate goal of Buddha's practice is the mental liberation, complete liberation from having any time to come reborn again. So that's the two different things that we have to show in the meditation, that the scientific research are good for well-being in this life, and we have to rely on that too. But whereas a Buddhist meditation is, again, meditation is a part of the Eightfold Noble Path, and this we have to follow, and that is to leading towards the complete liberation, unborn, unconditioned state, the Nibbana. That is the ultimate goal. Even in Satipatthana, clearly said these are the benefit of it, but the scientific research benefits are also just for this life.
Then if they ask you about the heart and mind and brain, how they relate to each other, this is also, Ajahn, can you explain a little bit about this? Our brain and heart.
Scientific approach.
Yes, it's quite, yes, it's scientific.
I normally, say that if we use our brain, we are using more conceptual things, perceptions. But when we use our heart, we are living in the present moment. So the practice of a meditation, that's why if we are using brain, then basically we are going into the conceptions, whereas if we are practicing from our heart, then we are in the present moment, relying in this present moment awareness. And now comes to the scientific research and brain waves and the heart things and things. These are, again, probably may relate to our life, but again, our focus shouldn't be on those things. It's not just a physical gain, I would say. Practice of meditation, and again, research says that if we are practicing meditation regularly, our heartbeats become a more normal, and even the brain system become a more better into the positivity and more happier. And these are, again, basically the mind taking control over the body now. So as we meditate, the mind become a more stronger and stronger, and this will help to the physicality. And there are research, I read one of the research paper saying that if one person is meditating 15 minutes a day, about 15 years, then it will decrease. They look like 10 years older than the actual their age. And when I was doing this demystifying mindful course from Sydney, one of the papers says that if you are meditating 15 minutes a day every day, then when you got old, there is a very less chance you will get the dementia. So these are, again, this is based on the physical development and as well as physical decay, which we cannot deny. There will be, and this is the Buddha's teachings, that this physical body or every part organs needs to decay once it's been created, and it is very certain that this will be changing. But however, mind is something that can help to make it less faster decaying than a normal use. So the practice of meditation will help in these situations. And again, I have a high blood pressure, and with the meditation, I was able to maintain it for so many years until I got the thyroid. And then after I got the thyroid, I have to rely on a medicine, and that again, medicine is helping me to make control. That doesn't mean I'm not meditating, right? So we have to see in a holistic way, in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant, Ajahn. Yeah.
I think whenever you have raised very good point.
Thank you.
Because you know, at the beginning of Mahasatipatthana Sutta is already said this, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Sattanang Visuddhiya.
Yeah, Sattanam Visuddhiya.
Yeah.
Beautifying everything, not only the physical,
No.
Yeah.
even the mentality also beautifying this. But it's good that the scientific research come to prove this.
Definitely,
Yes.
yeah. Scientific research
Yeah,
are
yes.
really good, encouraging people to come and meditate.
Yeah.
You know, because nowadays people believe scientists, you know, believe science. If science say this, the people will follow them.
Yeah.
As now,
right.
because science is, you know, developed or proved and very modern, then now people are, you know, like reliant on science a lot.
Yes, that's why, you know, when you are writing a paper, if you say that certain scientific paper suggests,
Yes.
then immediately your psychologically
Yeah.
believe that, whether the writer is referring to the real scientific research or not, but it's just a word.
Yes.
I think, you know, the Brahmasena, the last time we discussed with Tibetan monks,
Oh yes.
he also said that the killer of religions would be a scientist, scientific.
Yes. Okay, Venerable, I think we have friends, yeah, for 1 hour already.
Oh.
Yeah, 1 hour. Yeah, Venerable Panyapoka, do you have anything to say?
Venerable, I just greeting you. Thank you for your presentation and very fascinating and very interesting. I have only one question. I have never been to Europe. I just have the question, but I just, you know, the follow half of your presentation. Just many activity and many different approach,
Yes.
like interfaith, religious dialogue, these kind of things. So now I just would like to simple questions. I mean, doing the missionary work in Scotland. So what would be the challenge for, I mean, as a Theravada monks from Thailand, from Myanmar, from Sri Lanka? It would be the language, like a language barbarian or meditation experience, like Buddhist knowledge. What would be the priority one that we could have the qualifiedness?
Well, thank you. This question is really a good question.
But I have been in Asia. I have been in Korea for 2 years, Singapore 1 year, Indonesia. It would be different from Europe, I know. So I just would like to simply ask these questions.
Yeah. Well, you are most welcome to visit in Scotland or even Oxford.
I applied visa, but it was rejected.
Oh dear.
Yeah. I tried to, you know, to come as a student fellow for I think 2016. So at that time, it was very difficult for any months to obtain the visa.
Right. Okay. Sorry for hearing that. Maybe you can apply
It's okay.
for the next time one day.
Yeah. I believe I still can come.
Right. So my response will be, first thing is the English language.
Yes.
Okay, English language. But again, if you are going to stay in the temples or viharas, which is mostly related to the ethnic groups, like a Sri Lankan group or a Thai group, then again,
yes.
you don't have to worry about the language either.
Yeah, they have their own community.
Yes, so that's why if you are thinking of working in a wider community and going into the local communities, then basically you have to have an English language. Okay?
Yes.
And again, English language alone is not good enough. You have to know the Buddhist terminologies and how to how to present.
Yes.
So you have to have a sufficient knowledge about Buddhism too, and particularly Buddhist meditation, and how you relate it to the community at that place. So these are the two most important things. And then I would say that those who are coming here or in the West has to have very open-minded. Right? And I call it adaptation and adjustment. So, and with that, what I have developed my own understanding is that ability to accept people and ability to accept their culture. Ability to accept the people, ability to accept their culture as they are, and ability to mingle, adjust in that community as they are in their community, but maintaining our own identity, the culture, the tradition, the paying respect to the Buddha, the chanting, the meditation, wearing the robes, eating on time, like that. We maintain that. And then, so this adaptation. Now we need to adapt some of the daily routines of their lives. So that's why one of the adaptation in the West, people, all the Buddhist temples are doing is organizing ceremonies on Sundays. So we do not organize the ceremonies on our full moon days because people will not come.
Otherwise, would not come.
Yeah, will not come. So this is adaptation. We are adapting their culture into the Buddhism, right? So that is, so we have to be very skillful in a way to adapt their culture into the Buddhism. And basically, Buddhism is very good at adapting in different culture. That's why we have, Buddhism and different Buddhisms.
Yes.
Different
right?
Buddhisms,
So Buddhism in
different
Myanmar
Sabha.
is different than Myanmar Buddhism.
Yeah.
So Buddhism in Myanmar is basically the history, whereas Myanmar Buddhism is combined, tuning in with the existing culture. So same thing in the West as well. We have to learn the skillful way of tuning into their culture. And that's how we have this Buddhism. And that's why in my thesis, I mentioned at the end, my conclusion was, wait until how this Buddhism become a Scottish Buddhism rather than Buddhism in Scotland.
Scottish Buddhism and British Buddhism.
Yeah, so that's why the second thing is we have to know how to adapt the existing culture of that place, and then after that we have to adjust in their environment. So adjusting in their environment, like basically using English language, and even wearing a jackets or clothes, and having a boots on, so and using English language to talk and communicate. So these are adjusting in a in a skillful way, and this is I call respecting their culture, their people and their culture. So first accept, adaptation, and then respecting their culture and seeing the value value of their presenceness here. And then they are so much allowing us to be here and then working with them. So that's why we have to have this open-minded and always learning with them and learning about them, and also giving the Buddha's teachings in a different forms and different ways for helping them. And again, Venerable, if you are giving more talks and involved with the Western people, you will see that English language has a different levels. And when you are explaining the Buddha Dhamma, you have to use so many different layers of the language to explain it. And sometimes you use in the dictionaries or in our books, explain the teachings in certain words. But when you are going to teach, at front, you have to use different words in connection with that situations like that. So you have to have English language, and you have to have the good knowledge about Buddhism, and also having an open-minded.
Open-minded, yeah.
Yeah. So this is
Thank
a
you,
very
Venerable.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So, Venerable, what are struggles of being Buddhist in the modern way, in the modern society? They said, as you know, maybe some religion, some followers of other religion, they find the way in the modern society is different from the previous time in the ancient time. But now, modern with the modern science is science thing, then maybe they have to change their way of teaching.
Maybe,
but for Buddhists, we don't have to change, isn't it? It's all the Buddha. We have said this. The Buddha's teaching is always, like match to wherever the times. So how do you respond to this one, Venerable? So yes.
So when I was teaching Vinaya here at the center, yeah, and one of the students asked me why there are so many rules in Buddhism.
Too much.
And then I mentioned that it is because monks are naughty.
Yeah.
And all the rules that Buddha laid down simply because monks has done something wrong.
Yeah. Naughty monk can be sabaki.
Yes, sabaki. Yeah,
sabaki. Almost a rule. Yes, laid down because of them.
Sabakis are very talented monks. They know how to twist and turn, right? So then, if Buddha is still alive, and probably Pati Moksha been increased into maybe 2,000-3,000 rules. Yeah, but in a Western world, when we have to wear the jackets, they also asks, in accordance with the Vinaya, you cannot wear a jacket. In accordance to Vinaya, you cannot wear the boots and so and so. But it's based on how you use, how you skillfully use. So we have to use the so-called Mahapadesha rule, and how this is Loka Vajja, whether it is Loka Vajja or not. As long as it is still under this skillful way or skillful means of living and adapting and adjusting in this environment, then it's fine, and I do not see that any trouble at all. It's more of a like even being a Buddhist monk is like a very, very modern monk. That's why sometimes I call I am a modern monk.
Modern monk.
I think we should say, rather than saying that modern monk or professional monk.
And so that's why being a Buddhist in a modern world, there is no problem at all as long as we have the Vinaya that we are practicing in accordance with it, and there is a skillful means of changing, not a complete change, but adapting into the new society. Like you have to wear a robe jackets, clothing, otherwise you won't be survive. And here in the winter, you have to wear a proper the boots, otherwise you won't be able to walk. And you have a heating system at homes, otherwise you will be cold to death.
Cannot survive.
Yeah, so that's why I think there is no problem with it at all. It's based on who is raising the question for what reason.
I think Venerable, earlier you have said Mahapadesa, it is very important.
Yes.
So with this, I think we had not much problem about this.
So yes,
I think some times ago I was interviewed by one of the students from Robert Gordon University and asking that whether it is easy to integrate in the society or these Western customs or cultures, and my response was that as long as we are very open-minded and rather than complaining or criticizing other cultures, you're fine. And Buddhism has given us this vast open space to adapt and adjust in different situations in different times. So that's why it's like a sangha. Anyone from anywhere around the world can come and join. Once you joined,
Yes.
you all sangha.
Bahusana Hitaya.
Yes.
Bahusana Sukhaya. For anyone.
Okay, Venerable Bhante, I think our time.
Very nice to see you, Venerable.
Yes.
Yes, nice to see you, and thank you very much for the invitation, Venerable Asena.
Very last one, Ajahn Sujan.
Yes.
Very last one. Please suggest or tell our audience, our listeners here now, that how during this COVID-19, how do you want to suggest them to to stay, to live their life? Please, with the conclusion. Please.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Thank you. In terms of the COVID-19, I have given quite a lot of talks and posted on YouTube and Facebook as well. And particularly, I have separated during this time how do we should cope with it based on 5 precepts. And this 5 precepts is the safeguard for own self, and then for the family and as well as the community, as long as we are practicing in accordance with the 5 precepts. We don't have to be too much serious practicing the 5 precepts, but at least sound practicing helps to deal with yourself and then the family and rest of other communities. And in terms of the stress and anxiety or boredom and these things, and it's very obvious that you will face it because you are not accustomed with it. Now you have to stay in one small room or small house, which is not accustomed to you, and which may cause a lot of stress and problem and depression, and also as a cause of that emotional boiling into your heart and mind cause the other problems in the family. That's how domestic violence has increased significantly, and because people are not able to cope with their emotions that has arisen or that has come to face. So during this COVID-19, in a way, those who are practicing meditation or those who know how to practice meditation would be the perfect time to develop more and more, because this time you cannot go anywhere. You don't have to go anywhere, and nothing to go, nowhere to go, nothing to do apart from your family work or the working from the home. So in this time, rather than just sitting and working and separating, you should withdraw yourself and just to watch your mind and aware of your emotions and spend some time together as a family. And doing this sort of a small practice of a meditation will help you. And also, if you reflect back in the past before the COVID-19, people were complaining that they didn't have time to spend with their families. No time for my wife, no time for my children. And now you got it. Now you don't want to stay with them. So it needs to be very mindful that in that way. So spend this time, quality time with them, and use it very very skillfully. So the most important thing this time would be knowing and seeing your own feelings and emotions, and rather than let these emotion and feelings take control of your daily life, you take control of it and you channel it. That's why all the Buddha's meditation is to take control of our emotions and feelings, and then ability to channel into which way we want it to be. So this would be my advice to you all. And most importantly, there are so much domestic violence going on, and there are so much mental problem going on due to this COVID-19, and simply because confined into the small limited place. And it's this moment, rather than thinking about outside, internalize, know yourself, know your feelings, and generate more love and compassion to yourself, and as well as spreading it to the family and then the community. So this is your opportunity to change the whole world.
Thank you, Venerable. Very good advice.
Okay. Thank you very much, Venerable
Thank you.
Ajahn
I
Brahma
think
Sujan.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for invitation.
Venerable.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for all
The audience.
your audience, for all who are watching. And yeah, today we are very fortunate to have Ajahn Sujan from Varapunnya Buddhist Meditation Centre from Aberdeen to give this this wisdom to us, and we have learned a lot from this. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. See you.